Good afternoon YouTube, this is Warbles on a lot here. I'm just about to cut a bit of firewood for a neat of the Teapot Queen. And before I start, I thought I might do a little bit of a clip on forest archaeology and the impact that firewood gathering has on how much of the story is left to be told. So let's have a look at a tree stump, right? See what it'll tell you. This particular tree stump is kind of interesting in that you can see there's an axe cut notch been put on the stump. It has then been cut with a cross-cut saw, and there's a felling ledge to act as a hinge. Shows up fairly nicely in this view, and you can see axe marks where the bark has been taken off before the tree's been felled. Now, to have been done like that with a cross-cut saw, it means that this happened probably before the Second World War. This dead hollow indicates that there was a sapling in there that once upon a time died. And my guess is it was felled with a cross-cut saw in 1930 or so. It had had 60 years of regrowth since the sapling at the centre was killed by ring barking, probably by a Chinese shepherd working for the sheep farmers after the gold mining boom had passed in the 1850s and 1860s. And here's the stump still sitting here, and you can see what's happened to it. That's what I call forest archaeology. Trying to piece together what happened to make every tree and stump on the bit of ground that I pay rates on look the way it does now. So for example, this, which is still alive, has a dead twin, and they both come out of a root ball that has either been sucker bashed or it's had a tree land on top of it and kill it. But the burn marks here, that fire was in 1958, before I was born. This stump is a bit more interesting. It's also hollow, been ring barked and been standing there, probably been ring barked twice. But the crazy angle to the top of the stump, that probably indicates it's been cut down with a Hagen saw, which is probably what sheared this one off at that angle too. Now, a Hagen saw is a terrible thing to behold. It's sort of like two bicycle wheels with a two-stroke engine in the middle of them, with a drive shaft and a 2 or 3 foot diameter circular saw on an angle gearbox at the end, so it can be set up with the saw blade running vertically to dock logs, or it can be set horizontally, and there's generally an angle between the handles at one end and the motor and the wheels and the saw. So by elevating the handles, you can get this thing in a position to walk up to a tree and bite into it with a circular saw running sideways. So there's a lot of stumps around here that are cut at a really crazy angle. They've been done with a Hagen saw, and they came out mid-30s, and they got pretty much killed off by the mid-50s when chainsaws came out. I do know 1 or 2 people who still have a Hagen saw in use, real diehards. Again, a ring barked stump which has been axe wedged and then cut with, or actually axe wedged from this side and cross cut sawn from that side. These have probably been cut for firewood for the brick kiln in the 40s and 50s and 60s. Hollow, regrowth, 60 years odd of regrowth, scar showing the original hollow that was ring barked the first time, axe cut, cross cut sawn. Here we have an interesting variation, axe cut coming in here axe cut coming in here, and we have a dead tree that's fallen down. Now that could be poison. Whereas here we have possibly a single growth sapling, but it's been ring barked and then it's been axe cut and felled with a crosscut saw. Pretty much so much has gone from this stump that you can't see, apart from the big hollow in the middle, which shows that once again you've had your 60 years growth after a wave of ring barking. Here we see a clear indication of tubular regrowth. This is the dead skeleton of the tree, and here's the band of live tissue which has chosen to go straight up the trunk and not come out following that. Not too long. Oh, look, you've got one dead skeleton there, you've got radial regrowth, you've got another layer of live tissue. Again, evidence of tubular regrowth, evidence of tubular regrowth. Right, a dead branch being followed as the tree decides it just does not want to die. Right. This dead skeleton is pretty much this dead skeleton inside this much live growth. So, this thing grew for a long time between one killing in there and one killing out about there. Here's the hinge line where it was felled. There's the axe cut. This is quite possibly a case of somebody who's in training for the Axeman Championships at the local show, and he's cut the tree down with an axe. Again, radial regrowth, but it's obviously happened a long time after this was cut with a crosscut saw. Whereas this is the crown of this tree here, which is come under witchetty grub attack, and then yellow-tailed black cockatoos have attacked the grubs, and it's weakened the tree and it's lost its crown. Now we have low battery, so that's the end of this movie. Ciao!